Hello everyone and welcome to another What I Think review, and again, if you've already seen my Recon Dalek review, if you haven't, go and check that one out as well. But I am ecstatically pleased to have here an advanced review copy of the 13th Doctor's TARDIS from the new range that is coming out soon. This, as I said, is an advanced review copy. The official release will be on the 28th of February 2020. It is currently up for pre-order on Forbidden Planet, so people have been asking me if it's exclusive to B&M. I would assume not if that's the case. But it looks absolutely fantastic, I have to say. It really does look good. The box looks very nice. I can actually show you all the box of this one. I couldn't, for legal reasons, show you the full of the Recon Dalek box, but this looks brilliant. I mean, it looks fantastic. Nice bit of blow about the TARDIS. Obviously, picture of the TARDIS with opening doors, takeoff and landing sound effects. This one has sound effects as well. It looks fantastic in the box. Obviously, they've used a classic sculpt for this, but let's get it out the box and take a look at it, and I will explain a bit more about the TARDIS. So here we have the TARDIS. I'll also quick look at its interior box. We've got the lovely sort of hillside, looks like from the Ghost Monument, because we've got a reflection in some water there, which is very nice looking, but obviously it's the TARDIS we want to look at. As you can see, if I turn off the light 1 second, you can see the lamp is strobing blue. Obviously it doesn't have, which is another question people are asking, it doesn't have any interior lights, unfortunately. In terms of its sound effects and things like that, it has the takeoff sound effect when you lift it up. And then when you put it back down, it has the landing sound effect. Which is very nice, I have to say. It's nice to see a TARDIS back, a classic TARDIS back with those. It really does look very good. Obviously, we've had a few small differences, a few small changes on here. The colour scheme of it looks very nice. In fact, what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be picking it up for a bit, I'm going to turn that off. The colour change, it's a nice colour. It's got an overall bit of weathering. Obviously, we've got the door sign on another side. The door sign is just a sign, it doesn't open, there's no phone behind it. I know some people are asking about an interior card. There's no interior card, but I know that Al Dewar on Gallifrey base did show how an interior card piece can be fitted. I know some people said, well, if it can be fitted, why didn't they do it? Again, it's all down to budgeting and things like that. You know, we're lucky that we've got this, for example, you know, because ultimately, as most people will know, they did originally plan to do a proper 13th Doctor box, was prototyped up, but then for whatever reason, most likely budget, it wasn't made. They had to, you know, use a classic box in order to reduce the production costs, and obviously that does mean not getting an interior card, interior lights. You know, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's a bit of a shame why we couldn't get the proper one, but, you know, be glad we've got it at the end of the day. You know, don't, you know, it really comes down to what they can produce is the budget that they've got, and the budget that they've got is really dictated by us as fans buying the new products. So you can turn around and say, well, I'd buy the new products if they gave us what we wanted, but they can't give you what you wanted because you're not buying the product. So, you know, it is a case of, and I don't, you know, I'm not saying this of all fans, I'm just putting this out there. It is a case of realizing that you do have to be, some people have to be a bit less entitled to what they feel they should get and be happy with what you do get. You know, and I think that really is a case here. But overall, other differences on this, to get back to it, the windows, the frames are actually silver, which apparently is actually what they are on the 13th Doctor TARDIS prop, which is a brilliant difference. I like the fact that they are silver because it really does sort of stand out. And obviously the roof piece as well is an entirely new roof piece for the 13th Doctor's TARDIS. Obviously the other little differences that I have noticed, obviously some people are going to notice there's no notches in the columns, and the base isn't also as high as it was. Now the base not being as high as it was in terms of the bottom panels, again I can understand that because I had to do that as a mod on my own one, and it's not an easy thing to do. The notches on the posts, again, I can appreciate why they didn't do it, because obviously it would mean having to adapt the sculpt, but I know it was mentioned somewhere that they were going to paint the notches on. Now maybe they decided it wouldn't look right, or whatever reason it hasn't been done. So again, I have to say personally, I think it would have been nice if they had been painted on, because it would have just looked that little bit more. I don't want to say accurate, but it would have added to it a little bit more. But again, if they turn around and decided, you know what, actually it just does look like they've been painted on, I can really understand that. At the end of the day, I really can understand that they've not wanted to do it because of that reason. So yeah, you know, there's not a huge amount to say about it, because obviously it is a classic TARDIS box. But another comparison I do want to bring in, because I know people, again, people asked about this on Twitter and Facebook and places like that. We have there a 12th Doctor TARDIS, and then I have here a classic 7th Doctor TARDIS original release. So this is just sort of really so you can see, you know, the size comparison between them. Obviously the classic box is about the same size as a classic box. There's no getting away from that. You know, you can't. It doesn't. You know, it's not in terms of its height. It's the same. And if I line up the backs of them, you can see there is a noticeable. If I put it slightly onto the side, you can see there is a noticeable width difference as well. As I said, you know, there's no getting away from that. It is what it is, and you know, I think, you know, it's worth remembering that we are lucky to get this. You know, it's a shame that we didn't get the one that was prototyped and shown up, but ultimately we still got it, and I think it's a nice thing to see. You know, that we've got this for this collection. And I have to say, I think it actually looks really, really good. I really do like the look of it, and I have to say, looking at it like this, it's actually very, I wouldn't say dissimilar in colour to how perhaps a First Doctor TARDIS might be. So I like the idea that perhaps this colouring of plastic that they've used on this could be potentially used for a First Doctor TARDIS re-release. You never know. You know, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but I'm just looking at it thinking, actually, it's quite a nice colouring that we haven't really seen on a classic TARDIS before as such, because it is a little bit darker and grubbier than the original Fourth Doctor TARDIS. So yeah, I certainly would like to see, you know, that how they could use that in future. Now the other comparison I do just want to do, obviously I did a custom 13th Doctor TARDIS using a classic box, so I want to do a comparison between the two. Now I have actually updated my one since I did my video on it, so some of you will notice some differences. In fact, actually, if I just bring in the new series TARDIS again, you can see the height difference. Oh, might help if you centered on the screen. You can see the height difference, whereas, like I said, mine is a little bit sort of more taller in terms of comparison to a new series box. But again, you know, there is the factor that it is slimmer than a new series box. You can't get away from that. It is what it is. You know, so whether you were doing a custom one or whether you were doing you know, a new series one. Originally I did use a new series box and it looked a bit too fat, so I've customized the classic one, and it does look too thin. And so, you know, again, I have to say, which is partly why I wanted to do this comparison, I know people are going to say it looks like a classic box, it doesn't look right. That's not, you know, that you can't blame CO for that. They've had to do what they can within their budget. So the fact that, you know, as a customizer, even as someone who's, you know, I even raised the box on this, you can't get away from the fact that the classic design is just slimmer, and it's, you know, that's not the fault of CO or anyone like that. That's just a fact, you know. So either you've got a new series box, which is a bit too sort of fat, as it were, for a 13th Doctor TARDIS, or you've got a classic box which is a bit too thin. And personally, I have to say, between them using a new series box for a base or a classic box for a base, I think the classic box looks better than a new series one would do. I think they've really, you know, they have done well to do what to give us what they have with this. It really does look good, and certainly looks the part, I think. And you know, again, I look at it and think it's one of those ones that it's nicely in scale as well. Actually, if I've still got the figure here, it's nicely in scale as well. You know, I really do think that they've really done something good with this, because, as I said, it's not what people really wanted, but they've still really gone out of their way to look at what they can do and what they can give us, and what they have given us is, you know, it really is something special. I think, you know, maybe, you know, as I said, I've said before in these, you know, I'm getting these for advanced review, so I do want to review them fairly, but I'm also not getting paid, so I will have my criticisms of them. As I said, you know, I've got the criticism that this does look like a classic box more than a new series box, but for what we've got, I think it really does. They've really done their best to really make it look like a new series box, and they've really done it very well, you know, with the limitations and budget limitations and physical limitations, manufacturing limitations that they've had. So I think it is a fantastic one to it's a fantastic one to get for your collection. It's a fantastic one that I think it looks great as a classic box as well. You know, as I said, as a consumer, it looks great. It has its, I have my constructive criticisms of it, but it looks great. As a customizer, I said this with the Recon Dalek, as a customizer, I think it's great to have, because I can certainly see the potential for customizations with the 13th Doctor new TARDIS on the left here. But that brings to a close another What I Think review. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it helps me a lot. Check the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.